Thank you, choir. A smile is a universal welcome. On this occasion, I request Professor Vijay Kumar R., Head, Department of Commerce, to welcome the gathering.
The object of all life is development, and everything that lives has an inalienable right to all the development it is capable of attaining. A person's right to life means his right to have the free and unrestricted use of all the things which may be necessary to his fullest mental, spiritual, and physical unfoldment. A very good morning to the respected dignitaries, delegates, researchers, and my dear faculty members. It is a privilege for me to welcome all of you on the occasion of the 7-day FDP program with the theme Usage of Innovative Pedagogical Techniques, which is from the 17th of October today and ends on the 22nd of October. Our chief guest and resource person for today's program is our very old friend and a well-wisher of Kristu Jayanti, Dr. Ankit Saxena, Professor GLA Mathura University, GLA University Mathura, Uttar Pradesh, who is going to be the resource person for today's session on innovative digital pedagogy, incorporating ICT with teaching. With immense pleasure, we extend a warm welcome for all the support that you have extended for this 7-day FDP program. Yes, sir, we welcome you. Management is doing things right. Leadership is doing the right things. Amidst us, we have one such leader, Reverend Father J.S.V. Thomas, Financial Administrator and Faculty, Department of Commerce, who has given the perfect support and guidance for this activity. Dear Father, we welcome. I also extend a warm and hearty welcome to Professor Dr. Aloysius Edward, Dean, Faculty of Commerce and Management, whose constant support and motivation guides us to all our lives. Yes, sir, we welcome. I extend a warm welcome to Dr. R.P. Singh and Dr. Iba Rani, who are the coordinators of this FDP program, who have put their heart and soul in making this particular program successful. Your teachers, welcome. I extend my hearty welcome to each one of the faculty members who have joined this 7-day FDP program, and I'm very, very sure that each one of them are here because they deserve to be. Extending a warm welcome to one and all present here on this particular occasion of FDP. Dear teachers, welcome all of you. Each day holds a surprise, but only if we expect it can be seen, hear, or feel when it comes to us. Let's not be afraid to receive each day's surprise, whether it comes to us as a sorrow or as a joy or something new to learn. It will open up a new place in our hearts, a place where we can welcome new friends and celebrate more fully our shared humanity. Welcoming one and all, again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It is my pleasure to welcome Professor Vijay Kumar R., Head, Department of Commerce, who always motivate us, guide us in all the department activities. Welcome, sir. Leadership is a capacity to translate vision into reality. One such leader is our financial administrator, Father J.S.P. Thomas. Now I request our beloved Father to deliver inaugural address.
Respected Dr. Ankit Saxena, Dean Dr. Edward Adushi sir, our HOD, Vijay Kumar sir, and all the coordinators and staff fraternity of Department of Commerce. And it's always very amazing and very appreciating to have an FDP on innovative strategies on pedagogies. And as we know, the very cult of our Department of Commerce is all about having a learning curve always. Learning curve that is modeled by lifelong learning. All the faculties here is a great opportunity to have such a wonderful resource persons with us, Dr. Ankit Saxena today, to deliver the digital practices along with this one innovative pedagogies of teaching and learning process. As we all know, the very meaning of pedagogy is something related to induce the curiosity among the students to ask more and more questions, and then to mold a something collaborative teaching learning process. In order to help us today of 7 days of sessions, starting from 72, today we have a wonderful, very resourceful person today us out. And then for us, it's a kind of intellectual engagement today to have such a wonderful person, and of course, this kind of FTP engagement. As we all know, NEP 2020, and the very motive of all this pedagogy is something is always holistic, integrated, inclusive, enjoyable, and engaging pedagogies. And then today we are very fortunate to have these sessions, everything arranged by our Dean Sir, coordinated by HOD Sir, and all the coordinators along with the coordinators of FTP program and all the staff fraternity of Department of Commerce. Such a wonderful, it's a festival of knowledge sharing for 7 days. And I wish all the very best, wishing you all the best. And today we have the guest Ankit Saxena sir, and then he have mastery over leading many companies, and then academic acumen in finance and taxation, delivering a number of lectures in industry lectures, leading a number of human capital in different way industries and all. Thank you so much. And then wishing you all the best today. Let's celebrate these 7 days of FTP program of innovative pedagogies starting the beginning today, and wishing you all the best to all the fraternity, staff fraternity of Department of Commerce. May God bless you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Father, for your encouraging words. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. We should listen more than we say. It is a time to listen to the resource person of the day. Before that, I request Dr. Aarti Singh to introduce the resource person to the gathering.
Good morning, one and it's the guest of the day, Dr. Ankit Saxena. Dr. Ankit Saxena is currently working as Associate Professor at Institute of Business Management, GLA University, Mathura, Uttar Pradesh. Sir is a Director Medalist from Dayalbagh Educational Institute, Dayalbagh, Agra. Sir is qualified NET and JRF in December 2005. His academic interests are business paradigms of taxation, financial management, wealth management, and financial derivatives. Sir has published a number of research papers and contemporary business case studies in UK Case Center. Sir has also imparted consultancy to corporate entities in developing strategies for business process. Dr. Ankit Saxena has also visited various academic institutions for interacting with the students for imparting insights about emerging paradigms in education, as well as motivating them for understanding the relevance of education in their career. We are highly grateful to have you amongst us to share your immense knowledge with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Aarti ma'am, for the kind introduction, and I'm really grateful and thankful to all of you, Professor Ashwita, Professor Vijay, Father, for all these kind words. And let me say, and yes, it has been an association with Kristu College now for a few years now, and I'm really happy, and I keep on sharing this even here. That we should learn about organizing relevant FDPs, for you all. So that's really amazing. The kind of topics, contemporary topics that you people come up with is really, really the need of the hour, and it's really very important to self introspect at times, because we need to understand the role of ICT has emerged, and the teaching paradigm has changed altogether. It's not the same teaching that we were doing 10 years or 15 years before. And nowadays teacher has to be very, very dynamic, and it has it has become imperative to have substantial command over the various new advancements that are coming up. A lot of credit unfortunately goes to the as the positive side of this was that we came to know that okay, these many ICT applications are available, and we can use them in fact in our offline education as well. So today in this particular session, I'll be briefing you about a few basic concepts that I've prepared for this session, and definitely at the end or even during the presentation, if you have any point to discuss, I'll be very happy to take that really. So I have prepared a small presentation, so I'll be sharing that one straight away. So in this session, we'll be talking about the innovative, digital pedagogy, and how do we can, how can we incorporate the ICT with the teaching. And before moving to that particular topic, let us understand one thing very clearly, and what I want to keep my basic for the presentation, that teaching, has become a very, very dynamic trait. Let me be very, very honest. When I was, doing my graduation, and I used to wonder that my professors are having the easiest life, and I have no, hesitation to say that I chose the, teaching profession, understanding that this is going to be easy. The teacher is going to, and my professor who taught me, was teaching taxation for 30 years, and in that case, I was like, he knows everything, and yeah, he keeps the concepts updated, but he has practiced the subject so many times. What he needs to do, so effortlessly goes in the class and delivers the topic, and he comes back and he sits, and that's it. We I used to perceive teaching as a very, very passive profession, because it was like easygoing, very respect receiving kind of profession. So you love that thing for sure. But the real side of the coin, when you be there, then then it's like not that easy. And in this case, obviously we all sail in the same boats, and some of you are the research scholars, as I've been told, and you'll be coming in this particular profession soon. So this is a very, very dynamic trait. It's no more a passive trait for sure. You have to be updated. If you want to go in the class, the ICT applications, you have to integrate in your teaching for sure. And I'll share my assessment topic, and I analyzed in the beginning, and then you explore some of the topics, and then you come to know that you are doing not the 100% of the bit that is expected from a teacher. That's what I want to cover in the remaining part of my presentation. So yes, eventually, after spending around 2 decades in the teaching, this has been very evident. The students nowadays are having that digital assist, and sometime it happens I normally take up subjects like investment portfolio management or something like that. So when I go in the class, they might ask anything that has just popped up as a notification in the mobile, and that has become a challenge. That has actually become a challenge. There was one fine day, student got a notification about CBDC, that is central bank digital currency that RBI is now trying to float. So I was following that particular news for a while, and suddenly there was a notification on his mobile And he just randomly, from nowhere, he asked, "Sir, what is the CBDC and how is it going to impact our financial, setup and system? And how viable that, digital currency coming from an RBI is going to be, and what are going to be the implications?" And he connected, with something that I was discussing. And what the problem is here, that if you're not, keeping an eye on what's going on, and this digital, India, or digital access to the, various information network has actually, I'll say, given immense benefit, to this learning environment, because every single piece of information, you're not supposed to, wait for the next morning and read the newspaper. And obviously, it's paucity of time may be a factor that you might not go through it at times. So now, when you're traveling in your cab, you're, probably sitting in idle time, you have your device with you, your tab or mobile, and you can just scroll, the basic such, meaningful informations, and definitely that is going to add certain value to your class. And now it is very, very, also very important that when we talk about commerce, when we talk about business education, the concepts which are there in the books, some of them, today's students are asking, very relevant questions, and that has been a positive sign, which I have observed, in last 15 years. When I joined GLA, I remember in 2009, it was students were very happy to be, taught what is there in the syllabus. And if a teacher is covering their syllabus in time, that used to be the parameter of a very good teacher. But recently, what has changed, that one very important dimension that has actually emerged, that a teacher who is providing them contemporary awareness, taking the, knowledge, beyond that book's boundary, and trying to integrate those, bookish concepts with something that's happening in the practical life, has become, immensely important. And as a teacher, my fight with, is with myself only. I don't compare myself with anyone. It's like a journey that I'm on, and let me be very honest that I'm actually learning even today. So I love taking these sessions. I love interacting with the, academic fraternity. I love talking about research concepts and applied data analysis, even finance and such, interesting topics on teaching pedagogies and all. But, ultimately, it's not like that it has been achieved. Everything is, achieved. All of us are sailing in the same boat. And I believe all of you, by the core of your heart, believe that yes, there's a lot to learn every day. Every day I try and find that, okay, what's new in the, things that I can actually learn today. There are not many things. I did my, commerce graduation in 2004, and then obviously I was a commerce graduate, so I didn't have any exposure to any programming language. But recently, just in that quest for learning, I developed my command over R language. Then I learned about Python. So ultimately, nowadays when I'm preparing my students, when they're going to the companies and they're trying to become a financial analyst, they are asking, the basic concepts of R, Python, SQL and all. So we can't say that, it's not my field, it's not my domain, and I cannot teach you this particular thing. So that's not a good way out. So you have to develop such competencies, over the duration of your career also. Some of the teachers I come across, they're like very, very hesitant in terms of expanding their comfort zone in teaching, and that's not a good idea. So I normally, motivate all the new faculty members who are coming in, joining my area, because I'm chairing that area of finance here. So I normally motivate them to focus on developing as many as competencies as they can, because that's really very imperative. What I believe as a teacher, I'll share two of the quotes that have transformed my teaching a bit, and you might have seen them a number of times, but I'll just take 2 minutes for that collection as well. So what I believe, the thoughtful mind, should be able to analyze and process the information quickly and rationally. And as a teacher, I just want to create that thoughtfulness of, rationality in my learners. They are no more actually students, they are learners, and the learners should be, acquainted with the skills which are required to analyze and understand, what's happening. If a news is coming, what is going to be their implication? Adani shares prices are going up, but what if their P ratio is above the industry P ratio? So how do they deal with that particular issue? So that is something, we need to focus. So that's something that as a teacher, is my responsibility to develop that particular, knowledge. Now, the important thing that I was sharing with you that, the two quotes which have actually inspired me to become a better teacher. So these are two quotes coming from the Albert Einstein. That one is very simple quote that if you can't explain it simply, probably you have not understood it, well enough. So, and this I realized, I'm just sharing this because ICT applications, are also leading to the same thing. Sometime I was trying to develop some kind of strategy and using certain, softwares and all. And truly speaking, I was not fluent on that technology at that time, and I was not able to, deliver it to my expectation. As a teacher, we know that this lecture we probably were not at our best. Yes, that 1 hour time you can get away because you have that much of experience. Obviously slowly and gradually you develop that trait, but when you are not able to explain it fully, probably you have not understood well enough. So that's something, when I heard this line for the first time, I literally thought for like half an hour. And I love self introspecting myself, and there were topics, there were number of techniques which I was like, yeah, I normally go in class and just teach them. And I know, by my heart that probably, somewhere my thing is not that well that I cannot explain it the way I do the, with the other topics. So as a teacher, it's, I think, the greatest takeaway that one can take. Another thing is, gradually what we should aim at, that is the second quote that we are talking about. Education is not about learning of the facts. So it's not only about learning of the facts. Let me correct it a bit. It's rather the training of the mind to think. So, what happens when I'm going in the class and I'm just writing something on the board or showing my PPT, and then, telling them, okay, this is something that you must have understood by now. And yes, they do respond to that. But are they, using that learning of the facts for some thoughtful, rational, reasoning? So that something is very, very important. As a teacher, I cannot shy away from my responsibility. So if they know, especially at graduate level, obviously in Bloomberg's taxonomy, we try and develop their conceptual understanding. But when you're talking about a bit, even in the graduation third year, I believe students are mature enough. At least some kind of cases can be given to them. And obviously in PG, we have to, move beyond this delivering of, learning of the facts only. Because as a teacher, you're not justifying your role in that case. So I normally, try and focus that thing. And we all, have met lot many people, and all the good teachers have, one common trait. So they won't only come in the class and teach you. They will give you some kind of assignments, and they will give you some kind of problems where you have to apply your brain, and you have to come up with some sort of idea. How does it work? I remember, when I was learning the regression, I'll just share one small incident. And there's a concept of R square and adjusted R square. So R square, we normally understand, okay, if R square value is 30%, so you say, okay, 30% of the variation in dependent variable is explained by the independent variable. So my teachers, taught me that, and I was like able to understand, okay, that I was the first one to say, okay, so that means that 70% of, the variation in this dependent variable is not being explained by my selected IVs in this model. So he was very happy to understand that I was able to take that learning one step forward. But the second value was there, which was adjusted R square, and I didn't bother to know what was that. And because professor, was very, very sharp, and I'm very blessed to have him as my teacher. Still, we are connected, and even after 20 years, we do have at least a monthly conversation for 15 to 20 minutes for sure. And every time I learn a lot. And that's a way of learning, I guess. To be connected with your best teachers is the best way to learn. So he called me one day and he said, okay, do you know what's that adjusted R square? And the way I reacted, so you didn't tell that. So, students have this psyche, and they normally come up and say very, easily they can say that this was not taught in the class. So what's the idea here that, okay, when you're saying that, okay, it was not taught in the class, so he smiled at me and he said, okay, that was my mistake, I guess, but now I want you to know this. So now you ask me and then I'll tell you. And I was like, huh, so please tell me that. What's the value interpretation? And what he could do, he could, tell me that particular explanation in a single line. He was that efficient professor. He gave me a problem, and that's where you start exploring the learning, and that is where the information communication technology means are making huge role to play now, because that time getting information was difficult, but now if you give any assignment to any student, not many plethora of information is available. However, that becomes a challenge as well to retrieve the right set of information. That is the biggest challenge. But he gave me a problem. He said, you come up with the one IV, one DV data, and then you tell me the R square value. And next day he gave me another IV, and he said, now what's the impact on the R square and on the adjusted R square? And he kept on doing this exercise for next 3-4 days. And one fine day, when I was adding another independent variable, the adjusted R square value fell down. And that way he told me that now you will be understanding, because you are adding a non-significant independent variable, and this adjusted R square is a sharp measure to tell you that okay, this value will fall down when you are adding something which is not significant to the regression model, which is not done by the R square value. R square normally tends to go up. So ultimately, this opens up your mind and you think, okay, this is how the concepts is making a sense. So that's very, very important. Education, obviously has a wider purpose too, and it has been Sadhguru sir has said that it should not be suppressive, it should not be only suppressive information, but obviously you have to kindle that thirst for knowledge. That's what Einstein said in some other words. So we are all here for a wider purpose, and as a teacher, this journey is never going to be over. I believe till the very last day of my academic career, I wish and I pray that God keeps me in that shape to be modest enough to learn and to deliver what I want at that particular point of time. So now, when we talk about the technology, I was discussing this topic when I was assigned this topic. So I just thought I normally do this. Obviously, the academic fraternity have sometimes very boring discussions. So I was like, one of my very good friend was sitting next to me, and I just asked him, sir, what kind of ICT methods you are using in your teaching? And what response do you expect? My wife is also a very intellectual professor. I have to say that, right? So I also, at times, when you both are in the same profession, you continue with those boring discussions even at your home. So I also asked her the same question, and the response was very similar with what my friend said. And their response was like, and even in fact, I discussed with some of more colleagues, and just to understand, how we are taking up this as a teacher. And obviously, I had my own perception added to it. So normally, all of the responses summary was like that, that if you are teaching something using some ICT methods, some like online quizzes you're doing, if you're taking some online lectures nowadays, which is very feasible and doable. In fact, today only, it was certain Sunday, but one of my batch was having certain issue in some coding. So they requested me to take one doubt session, and it was not feasible earlier. Now it was very doable. So I just said, okay, set up a Zoom ID and we'll connect on Zoom for some time, and then we'll discuss the doubts. And it was a very live demonstrative session that we did, and the recording was shared to them. So ultimately, what do we perceive that how does this technology and all these methods which are available now, some of them were available in the beginning as well. Google Classroom was there, in fact, before COVID as well. And some of us were using it, right, for repositorying content. But nowadays, because we have understood that was the time when it was the only way to reach to a set of audience. And in fact, I normally thank digital platforms, because now sitting today in the Lord of Krishna, Mathura, I hail from Agra, that is city of Taj Mahal. I'm commuting to Mathura daily, and today I'm sitting in Mathura and I'm able to interact with you all coming from varied locations of the country, all the way to the south, at least from Bangalore. So that's the power. And that's something I'm really amazed. So you won't believe, I just randomly dropped a mail to a Dubai professor, and he was doing on he's doing a project which is very closely aligned with my research interest as well. So I just dropped him a mail and I requested him if we can someday connect, and you won't believe he was kind enough to revert me within a span of 3-4 hours, and he said that okay, let us connect on this particular slot if you're free. And we had a very fruitful discussion. Who would have thought that was possible, before few years back? So we didn't I didn't perceive that thing for sure. So that's something like the power of ICT means. This is coming in the collaborative learning now, and that's the core of learning, I believe. So you learn, I learn, we all together we learn, and that synergy effect in the learning comes into the picture. So in general, what I'm trying to tell you, this image might not be very clear. I just prepared this PPT in rush, so I was not able to type everything. But what I'll advise you and explain you this that this is the technology integration matrix, and it has been given by Florida Center of Education, which is there, and it's a very wonderful way to evaluate myself, I'll say. As a teacher, you can Google it, definitely you'll get this particular matrix. So what this matrix has said, that there are 5 levels of technology integration. And the discussion that I was doing with my friends and my wife and other my academic fraternity people that I value. So I found that all of us are actually probably either at the entry level or probably at the adoption level. So these levels are 5. So first is like starting using some ICT means first time in the class is your entry level, and then you adopt them, and then there's an adaptation level, and then there's an infusion level, and finally it comes to the transformation level. And in fact, in this particular setup, they have added the another axis, which is characteristics of the learning environment. So what kind of learning you are offering there? In entry level, you're offering active learning, or you're offering collaborative learning, or you're going for constructive learning, or you're talking about some authentic learning, or you are reaching to the final stage of the learning, that is goal directed learning. So ultimately, as a teacher, what I should do, and thankfully to this particular session, that I was able to self-introspect on this particular parameter. And sometimes, you come to know the reality as well. So when I come across this particular matrix and I evaluated myself, and I found that I'm not at the desired stage. Goal-directed learning and transformation level is something beyond maybe possibility due to number of factors, because students are not the same students that used to be earlier. And this particular batch is a very good I'll say a very difficult challenge, let me say in some polite words. So because I am calling it a challenge because in last 3 years, we are taking some MBA students here, and this year we have got close to 600 admissions in one particular branch only, that is the dual one, and then 100 plus admissions in some other branches. So, and why I'm telling this number, because the number that we were having earlier was just half of it. So the learners intake has been double. But the problem with this batch is number is good. University might be very good that the revenue propositions are improving. But my challenge as an instructor, for these learners is very, very difficult. They have not actually studied properly during their COVID times, and there has been number of factors. Some of the universities were late to adopt. Some of the universities were not able to adopt. Some of the universities, and I know a few big names, they started doing some good exercises online, but unfortunately they could not continue with that. And that was a very, very popular phenomenon that online sessions were going up, and the only teacher was speaking, and that happens on online sessions, and that's an irony, but it's a fact, because we have our own obligations at the same time, and probably that might eventually cause a distraction from listening to something which is very, very meaningful. However, I was very happy with my daughter's school. Let me honestly say that, because the number of the students that they are maintaining in their class is very, very optimum. And they had around 20-25 students in a batch. So my daughter's batch, it was around 20 only. And then they were having a one-to-one discussion. They were calling up names, they were doing some exercise. Teachers, and really, you won't believe, I went to the school after the things were clear. And in fact, one of the teacher who resigned from the college, I requested college administration to share her email ID or some contact number, so that I can personally at least share a vote of thanks to that lady for effectively teaching my daughter. And if she would have not done that, my daughter's learning for sure would have been compromised. And I understand, we do understand, we all understand, because being an academician, we understand the loss of academics for 2-3 years in that short span, how crucial it could be. So the ICT means facilitated us, but it also very important to us to understand. That's what I'm trying to deliver here, that first of all we need to understand the level of technology integration that we are doing in our classes. So are we just, sometime what happens, I'll show you what I normally do. Just a quick, I won't bore you with finance knowledge for sure, but normally what I do in the class, and I'll just show you because this might appeal very good to some of the professors. And my director appreciated my like when I discuss my best practices in my one of my session, he keeps on calling faculty members to show what they do in their classes for as a best practice. So I just demonstrate this particular tool. And obviously, as a finance teacher, money control is our second brother. So we keep on going to this website and showing a lot many going on in the market and what kind of stuff is there. So we keep on doing that. For example, if I want to talk about any company, definitely I'll just quickly type any company here. So just taking one trending stocks. So we normally discuss all these things, what's there happening in the prices, what is their SWOT, what are these numbers telling them, what are the financials of the company. So all these things. And I am a man who loves to interact on charts. So how these charts are actually making shape. So just a minute. Yeah, you're able to see that. So in that case, how this chart is making sense, how these candles are giving you some kind of trading tips. What happens if you convert this in Heikin-Ashi chart? So candle charts are normally having both positive negative values, but Heikin-Ashi gives you a better picture in which kind of value that stock is moving. So normally initial years, let me be again very honest that for me the ICT adoption was this only. I'll go in the class and I'll show something like how do I trade, how do I make strategies, how do I analyze, and I'll show them some of the contemporary websites or something like that. However, this if you go back to this matrix, so what you are doing, you are you're learning. Your teacher is beginning to use the technology tools to deliver the curriculum content to the student. So this is fundamental analysis, technical analysis is my curriculum content, and I'm just using technology, to deliver that particular part. So this is the first step. And normally, what I'm talking about, that all of us, get excited by doing this much only. So this is just like students are getting some passive information. They are not doing anything on their own. That's the important part. So if you see and go through this particular matrix carefully, in collaborative learning, what's happening, the individual student are using these tools. So every, student is definitely using these tools. So we started one subject last year about on financial modeling using Excel and Python. So obviously, the students, this is the common feedback that nowadays, in fact, a graduate or postgraduate student should be fluent in Excel. So MS Excel is the basic thing. So we started doing that. So now what happens, we normally give them individual assignments and we give them individual problems. So repository we have created, and they are working on their, individually, they are working on their tools and other things. So that is where that becomes collaborative thing. The point is when you use it in, the conventional ways, it is collaborative adoption. When you use tools and some students are actually, choosing the methods and exploring the things on their own, that becomes the adaptation. You're moving from entry to adoption and then the adaptation. And then if you start using them, if you know which tool will be used at what level and what will be the output, and you are able to visualize, that is the infusion level. And finally the transformation is that you are able to, you're interacting with outside experts, you're going beyond the classroom now. So it's a, phase, it's a phase. And at every level of learning, it's a phase. So when you're talking about active learning, when you're talking about collaborative learning, or if you're talking about constructive learning, you're trying to, make them understand that, okay, this is the set of relationship between the, various variables or topics that you're covering. So he must be able to understand, what's happening here. So in active learning, he's just learning passively some of the concepts. In collaborative learning, he's coming and using those tools, and at the final stage transformation, he's moving out with the peers and industry experts and interacting with them. And authentic learning, goal-directed learning, these are all these stages. So ultimately, what we need to do as a teacher, we need to understand, which level of learning I'll be aiming at. So what I normally, believe, at least, we must move from active learning is the first basic stage. If you're not doing that, then we must focus on doing that active learning at the beginning as a teacher, because without that, you won't be able to achieve the higher stages. But if we are able to somehow, achieve to the constructive learning, that will be a great achievement, I believe, at graduate level. And at PhD level, definitely, if somehow we are able to, expand it further. So if he's able to understand authentically, what's the correct things, and he himself is, selecting the technology, and he is, he understand, he is understanding that outside the world, what are the things which are happening. So it's the authentic learning now. So, and goal directed learning, like he will be able to set up goals and understand the implications of various terms. And again, if you are able to finally become the CEO of a company, the CEO of the company must be at goal directed learning at the transformation level. So this is one very, very important matrix for a teacher to evaluate the level of technology integration he'll be doing and the characteristics of the learning environment he wants to create in his class. So one very, very important aspect of that. So just one thing that I was sharing. So yes, we must start doing with these kind of exercises. For example, when I say, I normally, there are thousands of companies in any economy. And if I want to teach my students, how to screen a particular company. So this is like a simple screener.in website, and where you can actually screen the companies on the basis of their fundamentals. So they say, sir, we have studied about the profitability ratio. So I say that's fine. So you pick up the companies which are having return on equity more than 10%. So you just run this query. So you'll come to know, okay, there are 1,537 companies which are having ROE more than, this particular number, 10%. So if you, obviously you can't invest and evaluate all these companies, you have to add on some more parameters. So students said that, okay, so we know about the efficiency ratios, the asset turnover ratio should be more than 1.5. Fine. And you run this query again, and now suddenly, from 1,500, your output has come down to 450. So these are good companies which are having 10% plus ROE, and they're also having 1.5 plus, efficiency in terms of utilizing their assets. And if you go ahead and you keep on adding another variable, and you say, I want to be investing my money in smaller companies, I want to invest in a company which is having at least 10,000 crores of the capitalization. So I want to invest at least in mid caps. So if you do that, then you are filtering out your numbers to 35. So, okay, now my companies are having, my stocks are 35 in numbers. Still, this is a big number. You cannot follow more than 10, 15 stocks for sure. So if you want to add one more criteria here, and you say, okay, I want to add one more thing, fixed assets or something like, you can add, let's say, liquidity position that you say. So you want to say that current ratio of this company, should be above 1 at least. So above 2 is a theoretical, not a concept. So the moment you do that, 28 companies are still there, and you can keep adding. And what I normally do at this stage, I leave the topic, and I normally ask them to, go through the various screens which are already available here. So you go and, see what are the various screens available. What do you mean by capacity expansion? What do you mean by, FII buying stocks? So what is this capacity scan? So that's an assignment for them, and they have to create their own screen. And we normally take up that submission in the best screens which are there, normally, evaluated and presented in that conference hall. So this is like first stage is definitely is going to be, you have to come across the methods include those methods in your classroom teaching. So once you do that, definitely students are going to. Let me tell you very frankly, I've taught fundamental analysis on black and board as well, and blackboard, and I was like writing the formulas and telling them what these formula mean. That's learning. That is a learning. That is obviously a learning. But when you come to the broader sense of the learning, you have to demonstrate that practically. And please don't stop at that level. Try and give them space where they will collaborate among themselves. Let them collaborate with some industry people if it is possible, and then also let them prepare one small project on that particular learning. Not too many, but at least the important topics. I know it's an important topic. So once the student will be understanding the entire screening process, he is a good asset for any financial analyst company profile. So that's what my idea is. So that is what we are aiming. And in this example, I hope you understood what I'm trying to say, that you have to, anyway, in every topic, in marketing, we have different methods. In the finance, we have different methods. In the HR, they have different wayouts. So what happens in HR, one fine day we were having a discussion with the HR people. So HR, what we are teaching here is completely different, what is being practiced by the industry. So the HRIS, or the SAP modules, or whatever things which are happening in the industry, if you're not giving a glimpse of that to the student, the students will be like, oh, I've never seen that. So that should not happen. So if the payroll accounting is there, and so how is it happening in a company? How the leave management system is maintained in a company in practical sense? So how the salaries are prepared, how the thing leave bench prepared, how the training needs are identified. So how that actually is done. Only teaching with the theories will not serve the purpose, and we should move from that. As a teacher, this is our mutual responsibility. So coming back to my presentation, so this is the technology integration matrix. And eventually, what will happen, the advantage of understanding this concept, and this has immensely benefited me. And I just came across while searching for this thing, and sometimes it happens, you stop for a while and you think and you change. So I did. And definitely, what I believe now in my teaching, the benefit from this FDP, what as a resource person I've got, definitely, this has reiterated that need of reviewing myself in terms of technology integration and to use it to the best potential. So if I can achieve at least adaptation or infusion stage, I'll be very, very happy. So to be honest, right now I could sense that I am probably at the entry level. In some of the subjects, I am probably reaching to the adoption level. So sometimes what happens, because the paucity of the time is there, you have to complete your syllabus in limited amount of lectures, and you leave few assignments, few problems, few cases. Okay, someone who has done it, it's fine. But ultimately, it's a responsibility of a teacher that important topics of your subject should be covered in a way that it's not hampering the learning. Obviously, we don't do that, but in that phase, if we are able to achieve the higher stages of learning, that is, and higher stages of technology integration in our subject, definitely, the output is going to improve. So what this particular diagram is telling you, that when you move from the entry towards the, transformation, your instructional focus on the content, will improve, and your instructional focus on the tool slowly will go down. Initially, at the entry stages, you have to more, deliver on the tools, what are the tools, how they are used. Slowly and gradually, when you develop that understanding, and the person, the learner who is at the transformation phase, will be able to focus on the content part more, because he'll be understanding tools for sure in a better way. Similarly, the ownership of the learning, that's something really, very important. And the example that I did give you about myself, when I dared to ask my teacher that you didn't tell that. So that, learning ownership will be shifted to the student. Why can't they come and ask us question? That's something that has been missing for sure. At our places, it is missing. I'll say utmost like anything, because when I come in the class, I teach, they're like, okay, we are learning. But nowadays, the students are not asking as many as questions as the previous generations were asking. I asked a number of questions to my teachers, and I was like, till it was not clear, I was not allowing my teachers to move on. And that really doesn't happen to me, at least. I'm not sure about your case, but that's not happening with me. And when I go and probably like insist that please ask questions on this, and then you probably sense that okay, they're not in fact asking, then you start asking questions, you start taking quiz. So that ownership of learning, should remain with the student. And eventually, when you move from entry to a transformation stage of the technology integration, definitely that's a very, very likely setup. Uh, in the initial parts, you will, when you teach something new, like I was teaching Python, I was teaching R to them. I was supposed to tell them more of the procedure. But now one of my batch is like, who has learned the Python, in a good way. So they are applying all those Python concepts for financial analysis, and now their understanding of finance is improving. And one of the students, one day, fine day, came and said, "Thank you, sir. My understanding of financial concepts, has been better with the practical uses of this Python for the finance." And it was like a sense of satisfaction that you definitely get, that at least your efforts were recognized. And sometimes, some of the students were like, may feel that he's coming in the class and he's trying to flaunt what he knows. And that's a very natural thing. Nowadays, the students can say anything. They can create your meme any day and for anything, what you say and what you do. So in that case, the conceptual understanding is something that will improve when you make them, moving from entry to transformation. Similarly, the complex use of technology tools is only possible when, students are actually fully aware of the technologies. So it's not possible. The day one, I'm showing them what's the technology, what's the methods we are using, and suddenly we expect them to be using those complicated tools. So at the later stages of integration of the technology, that is viable and that is very much doable. So Fatima, I'm supposed to finish around 11:45, I guess.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Please, I'm keeping an eye on the watch. So
Yeah, don't worry.
yeah, thank you so much. So in that case, another thing is, what do you want to do? What is your focus as a teacher? You want to, just go ahead with the conventional use of the technology tools. Google Classroom was there. Google Drives were there. My one of the friend, he said that I share all my lectures, all my notes on Google Drive, and that was the technology adoption for him. And we discussed that thing, and I normally tried and made him convinced as well that it's like giving. Earlier you were giving in some pen drive, and today you are uploading it on a Google Drive. So the mode of the storage is changing. It's already there and it's in the system. At one stage, you probably you could have gone and pasted the material in the student's laptop. So is it serving any kind of learning purpose? Definitely a big no. So ultimately, the technology use, conventional uses were there. I remember when I conducted Google quiz on the very first day, and it was like way back in 2013, 14, I remember, maybe before that as well. So students were very happy. So today we had fun, but nowadays, Google quiz have become boring. Because there are better platforms available. So at our university, we have taken one subscription. I just, I'll not demonstrate the entire thing, it will take time. But this was the demonstration, this was the tool that has been subscribed by the university. So what they have done, they have taken up this subscription, and I'm just ignoring that for a while. So what Kahoot is there. So in that case, Kahoot is there, and we prepare quizzes on this. And in this setup, what happens, everyone has to join on the quiz in a live setup, and their names will appear. And after every question that will pop up, if you answer fast, so if you know the answer and you hit the correct answer on the very first attempt, so you get points for the correct answer as well as your promptness. So what happens here, because it's a competitive environment, Everyone wants to see his or her name on the the leaders board, and that is where you sometimes for fun. So this takes lesser time. It creates more excitement among the learners. And the only problem, let me also share the only problem. Bangalore will, I'm sure it's not supposed to have these problems, what I firmly believe, because it's the IT hub of one of the IT hubs of the country. But at our stages and places where we are, this is a place where we are situated in Mathura. It's a remote area actually. We are 17 kilometers away from the town, and there are networks, towers installed here. But at times it has happened that when we started this quiz, and some of our students were not getting the connectivity. So the connectivity concerns, may arise, and suddenly, the student who's very sharp, very brilliant, but due to his internet connection that he's having in his own device, uh, it was not facilitated to him because he was not able to access to everyone. So Wi-Fi was needed in that case. So we ensured that whenever we are going for such activities, we understood that there was a immediate requirement of having a good Wi-Fi, which everyone is able to access. And then only such technological interventions will make justice to the learning that we are aiming for. So buying a subscription for any such website might be an easy task. It's not in lakhs, it was probably in some thousands only, and we got it. But the point is, we are not able to use it because the infrastructure was not ready. So we have to spend on that as well. So that's a challenge. At times, it might be a challenge for any university, anything. So because financial constraints are obviously one of the important part for technology integration, like anything. So that's something the technology comes with a cost, and that we have to understand. Uh, I don't know. In my place, the one interesting thing, where I live in my house, I'm using dual SIM phone, and obviously all of us do that. And in one of my room, the Geo signals are available. In one of the room, the VI signals are available. In one of the room, Airtel signals are available. So it's like very funny that if you're sitting in one of the room, then your voice connectivity will not be that good. So sometimes it happens, and why this happens, really, God knows. One particular signal drops at any point of time. So that is the technological constraint that we have to keep in mind before integrating and depending on it for too long. So that's one thing that we can discuss. And there's a TPAC model, and it's a very, very interesting model which I came across. And like there are three types of knowledge. We all will agree with that. There's a content knowledge. As a teacher, my first focus should be and will always be on the content knowledge. Second thing is pedagogical knowledge. So this is something that you learn over the year. Frankly speaking, when I review what I was doing 15 years back, I was awarded best teacher award in that year. And today I look at that award, and I really wonder the kind of teaching I was doing, and the level at which I'm teaching today. There's a huge difference in that. And all of us will feel that, over the passage of 5, 10, 15 years, 10 years, you understand your way of delivering your command over the content, and your understanding of the topic definitely improves when you repeatedly, teach one topic again and again. So that's something that we should keep in mind. So the content knowledge is one part. And pedagogical knowledge, yes, you can attend workshops for that purpose, and you can do that. Some pedagogical knowledge is there. So what kind of pedagogy you are using, and the way you are delivering your content is also very important. You can attend workshops, what I was saying, and you can also develop that particular pedagogical knowledge with the experience that you gain. Now today, the third component that has been added is the technological knowledge. So ultimately, one of my scholar, I gave her a topic of technology acceptance model, and she was like, initially, you won't understand the actual status of the candidate. You don't understand what's actually going on in that particular candidate. So initially, everyone sounds very intellectual. And slowly and gradually, what I realized that her dependency on the technology was at a very, very doubtful stage. And when I gave her some assignments, and she was not able to do, and I jokingly said to her that the acceptance of technology at your end is the first requirement to go ahead with this topic, because you must, anytime she was like, my laptop is crashing, sometimes her files were not saved, sometimes she was not able to edit it, sometimes she was not able to format it, sometimes she was not able to do, and there were a lot of hiccups in the beginning. Luckily and gradually she picked up, and now she's on the track. But the technological content of the knowledge has become very, very important part. Now there's a certain overlap, and that's what we need to understand as a teacher. So when we are going in the class, there's a content knowledge and there's a pedagogical knowledge. Sometime, I might be slightly weak in my content but my pedagogy is such, that even that, slight, sluggishness in my content knowledge, I'm not saying you should be doing that, but sometimes the pedagogical, methods or interventions are such that you are preparing your quizzes, you are putting harder efforts in spite of your limited abilities in your subject, and students are effectively learning because your pedagogical efforts are making that change. So your pedagogical content knowledge, that is being referred as PCK, is going to help you. If you are good at content and if you are also good at technology, you can take it that way as well. So then this is called PCK, technological content knowledge. So I know my content, I know the technology, and because both of the things are good, similarly, I could have said it here. If you know content and if your pedagogical knowledge is good, if it is perfect, your students are going to love it. And if you are also like you're knowing the technology, you're knowing the pedagogy, content part is another very, very important component. So if you are good at PPK, so you might, these are the people, please don't mind if I say that, all the personality trainers or management, aptitude teachers, they are like wonderful in the technological part as well as the pedagogical part. So all these, motivational speakers, they know the pedagogy that is going to appeal the masses. And obviously, when today they are coming on YouTube or some other things, so they know the technological part as well. So they are great in TPK. And a bit of content, will popularize them because that is what public wants. And the core of the teaching, today, what technology integration and ICT, adoption will require, that I must focus on all the three components here, and that is TPACK. That is what they are calling technological, pedagogical, content knowledge. So this is what was given by Matthew J. Kohler and Punya Mishra in 2000, and it's a wonderful. Again, I love this concept, and this is something that we should introspect. Are we lacking in one of the knowledge aspect here? Somewhere, I have seen teachers at all places, at good places too, when I visited for some of the FDPs and even at big IIMs and big NITs. So what happens? They are perfect at content, no doubt about it. Pedagogical, they don't focus too much. Let me be honest, because they believe if you want to learn, you have to come and attend and learn. And pedagogy, some of the teachers might have great, and some of the teachers might not worry about it. Technological part, is seriously missing. So even like small PPT making might be a trouble for them. So, and nowadays, we are talking about, there were scenes, earlier in the Zoom, there were scenes. And one time the director sir was trying to enter in my class when I was taking a session. And you wouldn't believe, I was like, I have this tendency of keeping that participation box and chat box always open when I was taking class. So, because it should not happen that I'm just speaking and I'm narrating my theories and stories here, and another story is going on the parallel parts there, or someone is trying to walk around on your screen and you're not able to identify who is it. So definitely your technological command, will make you a better teacher. Those who are good, they didn't face any such, weird or awkward moment while teaching online. And those who were weak in that particular part, they learned eventually how to avoid it and how to control it. So because students, for sure, because they are millennial kids and they know technology better than you. My 3 years younger daughter is always on the devices of mine whenever I'm near about her, and I'm just wondering, the gesture. My phone, my wife is not able to operate because my, obviously parents are not able to operate because I just opened that gesture navigation, and she fluently, just goes back to the home screen and then go back and go forward and everything she's able to do. And I have not taught her. And this is like the millennial kids are blessed in a way because they are so much acquainted with the technology. They are seeing everything at so first hand in their hands. So that's something very, very, interesting. So this is one more model. And as a teacher, I believe we must focus on this, integral part of the knowledge part here. So finally, one more thing that I will discuss, and then probably will towards the end will take up some queries. We need to understand this technological, integration has something very important to do with the Bloom's taxonomy. So when you are talking about entry and adoption, you're basically covering the basic three components of Bloom's taxonomy. I won't cover much details here because there's a dedicated session on the Bloom's taxonomy. I have seen that in the flyers and schedule. So the BAM will, obviously brief you on that. But technological, integration, ICT methods adoption, when you are entering and adopting it, you must focus that you are basically, using those ICT means for remembering, understanding and analyzing. So when you're taking online quiz, when you're taking to them some website, when you're asking them to learn something, from the technological things, you're telling them some new language or anything new that you're doing in terms of adopting a technological part in the learning. So you will, focus on remembering, understanding and applying the first three levels of Bloom's taxonomy, Bloom. And then we, when we are talking about adaptation or infusion, definitely, we are basically aiming towards the analysis and evaluation. And finally, when you're talking about transformation, that goes as creating. So at PhD level, those PhD scholars are supposed to have that transformative learning because they are going to create a new theory. They are going to come up with something significant contribution to the existing theories here. So this is very closely related to Bloom's taxonomy as well. So there's another model that has been given. So if you want to, a SEML model that we are calling, it was given by Dr. Ruben Mathura, and what they have said that if technology allows for the creation of new tasks previously inconceivable. That is what it does. That is redefining the concepts. So it starts with basically the substitution. So technology is acting as a direct substitute with no functional change. So that is the substitution. When you are moving towards the augmentation, it is again acting as a substitute, but it is making some functional improvement. That is what you achieve in the augmentation space. These both combines in the enhancement. And if you wish to go to the transformation, you look at the modification and redefinition of the concepts there. So this is again another model. And one just thing before I close my session. There are ICT standards, the International Society for Technology in Education, and today the digital age learners are having various categories. So we are talking about digital citizens now. So digital citizen, will know. Nowadays, government is promoting so much of, you have seen the digital libraries are there. Your all documents are going into DigiLocker. So things are becoming easy and things are becoming difficult. Let me say very honestly. Earlier, the challans were not that fluently coming to your home, but because now everything is so well structured. If you're parking your vehicle at the wrong place, they come and scan the code of your that number, and the challan is at your mobile and you have to pay it. You can't even negotiate it, right? So in our part of the country, we were able to do that. So that way it's it has become, it has come up with certain challenges as well. So ultimately, are you looking for using the technology for becoming a computational thinker? You want to become a global collaborator? You are looking to construct some knowledge? Are you going to use this technology for some kind of innovative designing, some creative communication? I love, you won't believe, but I love editing videos. This is my hobby. If I was not a teacher, probably I would have been doing some creative stuff, editing some videos and all. So I love that particular trait. And you ultimately, obviously, at the end, we all wish to become an empowered learner. So it's up to you the way you are going to take up this particular topic. So in short, I'll just brief you with few more things. There are some universal design for learning guidelines, very similar to what I've discussed. Digital pedagogy, we need to make sure that how we are using it in our classes. When we are going in digital mode of education, so obviously that is a different domain. So there are different things that you should keep in mind. And moreover, we must focus on the digital citizenship. So how we are trying to, prepare our next generation, to be ready for digital citizenship. If the digital currency, that RBI is floating, uh, there's a draft that is coming up in a few months. So if they come up with something like CBDC, so central bank digital currency, that's what they're calling. So the very, there will be terms which can be converted into cash or something. So that will be like a huge transformation, and the blockchain and the cryptocurrencies are there. I'm not supporting Bitcoins or other things, but yes, blockchain technology will have their implication in management for sure in the long run. So what is the roadmap? So if you want to, go ahead with those things, so very important thing, as a teacher, what is my learning content management? So technology is useful in that particular parameter. So I can definitely share my content to my students so that learning content management can be done with the help of ICT. What are the existing digital resources that I'm able to use? What are the new sources that I'm actually aiming to get? What is my technological assets, and how we are going to use the technology for collaboration? So these are, the dimensions at which, as a teacher, as an administrator, we must look at. And finally, one more thing, you need to identify the tools and resources which are there. So yes, these, video conferencing software are very popular, but apart from that, various LMS are there, where we do have one LMS at our university in-house. We have developed it, and now it is the backbone of our entire system. Everything that we do is on digital. So let it be the simplest buy order that we are placing in the universities through that particular model. Even our resignations are on the portal. So whenever you wish to resign, you need not to wander to move from one room to other room. You just put it on the portal, and that's processed automatically, and you come to know that this has been processed. And everything like your leaves, salaries, and everything, any issue you have, you can just put it on the online portal, and that's resolved over there. So other users are there. So, and we can use this ICT means for assessment and grading as well. Let me tell you, the Google quiz that we were using earlier have space for copying from the Google, because you have to open up that particular file for a certain amount of time. You cannot restrict everyone to complete that quiz in 15 minutes. So, and some of the sharp learners, they could attempt by opening multiple screens at the windows, and they were good enough to get the answers if the tools are available. And when we started using Kahoot, so in that case, because it's a live, everyone who's trying to finish on the leaderboard is promptly answering without bothering to look for the answers around. So sometimes these kind of tools may become helpful in your grading as well. And ultimately, very important part is that you have to develop a positive school and classroom community that should be now, as we are interacting today. So some kind of community that should be there. So that's it from my side. And if you have any queries, I'll be very happy to take up those. My email ID is ankit.saxena@gla.ac.in. So if you wish to connect for any academic purpose, I'm definitely open for it.
Thank you, sir. Dear participants, if you're having any queries, you can ask. So we'll be clearing your questions.
Hello,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
ma'am. I have a query, ma'am.
Yeah, please, ma'am.
This is for Sir Ankit, sir. So, how can we use the podcast for my subject, sir? My subject is a problematic one, especially for accounts.
In accounts.
Yes, sir.
Yes, it's a very good question. Thank you for asking this, because sometimes, the nature of the subject plays a very big role in terms of understanding what kind of technologies can be used here, right? So one thing that we normally do while teaching accounts, if I am taking a paper on financial accounting or corporate finance, so normally, they must have the basic understanding of some accounting software. So if I'm telling them, okay, these are the various accounting entries, these are the very vouching and verification kind of things that we normally teach them in the class, and what are the various financial statements that will be prepared. So there are two important things that I normally wish my students should know, that how this is done in a practical organization setup. So you have to have that network, and you must try and connect with someone who's from the industry and see how they are doing the accounting. So what we do, we normally get a simulation in our university, so where they are able to understand how the this entire vouching, verification, and preparation of financial statement is done. So it might be Tele ERP, it might be SAP FICO module or something like that. We cannot teach SAP modules in our university for sure, any university for sure, but at least giving them some hands-on idea by showing them certain module pictures, that this is how the FICO module works in the real setup. So at least once they go in the industry, they won't be like surprised when someone asks them what is Tele ERP or what is FICO module of financial control that I'm talking about in the set. So these kind of learning should be shared. And one thing definitely, at any level, finance people can always do. Your financial accounts are prepared, your ratios are prepared, and all of that information is available on so many websites. So how you can make some meaningful interpretations from that? So if I'm giving you the new format balance sheet, if I'm giving you two different companies, one day I did that. I gave them the balance sheet of Infosys, and I showed them the balance sheet of Oracle. I asked them to make a financial statement analysis. And what we normally do, I have already taught them the common sizing, and what they were doing comparative trend and other things. Only one or two students did the common sizing, because here the two companies are coming from different scales, so they must have applied the common size. So anything that we are teaching, at least they must use the information which is available now, and going to the internet, trying to replicate what they have learned in the class. That's my suggestion to the professors who are taking classes in accountants.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Any more queries? Okay. Once again, thank you so much for enlightening us with your powerful knowledge, sir. The essence of all the beautiful art, all the great art is gratitude. Now, I request Dr. C. Nagdeepa to propose vote of thanks.
No duty is more urgent than giving thanks. We must find time to stop and thank the people who make difference in our lives. Good morning, one and all present here. On behalf of Presidenti College, I deem it my privilege to propose vote of thanks on this first session of 6-day FDP program on usage of innovative pedagogical techniques. I take this opportunity to extend our heartfelt gratitude to the esteemed speaker of the day, Dr. Ankit Saxena, GLA University, Mathura. Sir, your informative session on innovative digital pedagogy with teaching ICT tools was very useful to the teaching fraternity. Thank you so much, sir. I am delighted to express the deep gratitude to our respected Reverend Father J.S.V. Thomas, Financial Administrator, Presidenti College, for the guidance and moral support. I extend my thanks to our Dean, Aloysius Edward, School of Commerce and Management, for his continuous guidance and moral support. I'd like to thank our beloved Head of Department, Professor Vijay Kumar R, for his constant help and guidance that radiated a source of energy with us. Thank you, sir. I extend my sincere thanks to Program Coordinator, Dr. R.T. Singh, and other faculty coordinators of organizing committee for the successful conduct of today's session. Thank you so much. I would be failing in my duty if I did not thank the participants of the FDP who have made this day possible and great. I would also like to thank each and everyone of you being in this session, making this day a wonderful and memorable. Thank you all once again and have a great day. I remind.
Thank you so much, ma'am. By this, we come to end of the day 1 FDP. Now I request the college choir to lead us with Jayanti anthem.
Day-1 fills knowledge in our minds. Laurels and the book make us sublime. With the mighty Lord we soar high on the bedrock of faith. Integrity of force, human dignity true, excellence we strive. Kristu Jayanti, Kristu Jayanti, life and prosperity. Kristu Jayanti, Kristu Jayanti, life and prosperity. Raise the joy and peace, sprawl our hearts and minds. On we march our goals as a beacon for the world, with a passion for our growth and a love for humankind, united and strong in excellence on the bedrock of faith. Integrity of force, human dignity true, excellence we strive. Kristu Jayanti, Kristu Jayanti, life and prosperity. Kristu Jayanti, Kristu Jayanti, life and prosperity.
Thank you, Koil. Once again, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Ankit. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you, sir.